Welcome back once again. In the last lesson, we talked about the condition of Indian economy. That we inherited from the British rule, right? Where we discussed about agriculture sector that was completely stagnant and constant, and we also discussed what were the various reasons for the stagnancy of agriculture sector. So today we will be discussing about the condition of industrial sector. But before that, I would be willing you to know what was the level of national income and per capita income, right? As you can see, how do we calculate national income? It is calculated, it is actually the income that is generated by the resident producer of a country during an accounting year, right? So in layman's language, we can say that it is the total income generated by all the resident of our economy. And per capita income was also very low. And how do we calculate per capita income? It is calculated as the national income divided by population. So this is how we calculate per capita income, and they both were very low, national income as well as per capita income. Okay. One more thing that we need to understand, that during British period, British government did not put any sincere effort to estimate the national income of our country. Rather, there were very few people, 2-3 people were there who actually voluntarily decided to estimate national income of our country. As you can see the in front of you, you can see he was the very first person who actually estimated national income of our country. His name is Dadabhai Naoroji, right? So during that period of time, national income was just a minute. National income was 340 crore, right? Whereas per capita income was 20 crore. So this data is related to the year 1867 to 68. So that period of time, Dadabhai Naoroji gave estimate for national income of our country, which you can see was very low that period of time. Other than these people, other than Dadabhai Naoroji, there were also some people who tried to estimate national income of our country. As you can see, there is this person, William Digby and Finlay Shiras, right? These were also people who tried to estimate, and then one more person was there, R.C. Desai. But you know what? These three of these people, only one of the person was there whose estimates of national income was considered very significant, and he was V.K.R.V. Rao. Why his estimates of national income was considered very significant? Because he actually adopted a scientific methodology to calculate national income, right? So V.K.R.V. Rao was the person whose estimates of national income was given due consideration or significance. So he gave the data for the year 1931 to 32, and as per this data, national income of our country was estimated to be 1689 crore, whereas per capita income was estimated to be 62 crores, right? So this is what we need to know. You can just remember some of the names of these people. Of them, V.K.R.V. Rao, very important person whose name you must remember. Now let's come to come. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the last lesson we discussed about the condition of agriculture sector at the time of independence. Now in today's lesson we'll be talking about the condition of industrial sector when Britishers left our country, right? So if you remember, in the very beginning of the lesson, I had informed you all that the handicraft product of our industries that had actually gained worldwide reputation, right? But when Britishers came in our country, they found that if our handicraft industry would be flourishing in this manner, then it would be very much difficult for Britishers to actually increase the demand for their finished product, right? And thereby they would not be able to grow their domestic industries there in England. So how they actually started deindustrializing our handicraft industry, this is what we are going to look at in today's lesson. So as you can have a look in front of the screen, so here you can see there were actually two ways through which they deindustrialize our handicraft industry. So what they used to do was they would actually buy raw material from our country at a very cheap rate, and they would take it there in Britain, and out of that raw material that they would be using from our country, they would produce it into the final product, right? And that final product they would be selling it again to our country at a very low price. Here it is written high price, so please make it correct. It is actually low price, not high, right? Mistakenly it has been written here. So this is how they try to deindustrialize our handicraft product. They would take the raw material at a very cheap rate, and they would supply the finished product from their country to our country. That would again be at a very low price. Why low price? Because the goods made through manufacturing industry that were very much cheap price as compared to the goods that was produced manually, right? So handicraft product that we were producing, that was made manually, because of which handicraft product was bit expensive as compared to the product that were sold from the Britain, right? So now let's move on to the next slide. So there were basically two main reasons for the decay of industries, as you can see here. The very first reason is decay of handicraft industries, right? And another reason is slow progress of modern industry. So just let's talk in detail about the decay of indigenous handicraft product industries in our country. What were the reasons that actually led to the decay of handicraft industry? So the very first reason, as you can see in front of the screen, was discriminatory tariff policy. So what was discriminatory tariff policy? See, they had actually used a kind of system. Let me just explain it here. So in twin policy, they had actually made twin policy. In twin policy, what they used to do, whatever finished product that Britishers would actually supply here in India, right? Whatever finished product that Britishers would supply in India, that was made completely free. Free in the sense like there wasn't any kind of import duty, right? That they would be actually supplying from Britain to India. But when Indians were to sell their handicraft product, that means when we were to export, or we were to export our handicraft product, that on those handicraft product, huge amount of tax duty was levied, so that because of which it became very expensive for our Indian people to sell it abroad, right? Because of the high tax, that our handicraft product became very expensive, which reduced its demand also across the globe. So this is how they actually adopted twin discriminatory policy. Whatever finished product that they would be supplying here, that was made completely free, means there wasn't any kind of import duty, whereas whatever just a minute, whereas whatever amount or handicraft product that we would be selling there in foreign country, that is handicraft finished product, our finished product, on those goods heavy amount of tax was levied, right? So this is how they adopted discriminatory policy here in our country. So I hope we have understood the meaning of discriminatory policy. And then next is competition from machine made good. Obviously because as I've already told you, that goods made in industry that were very of cheap rate, right? Whereas goods that we used to make here in our country, that was made manually. So because of the huge price difference, our domestic producers had to face a lot of competition from the foreign producers. So that also led to further decline in the demand for our handicraft product, and increase in the demand for the finished good that was there, that was coming from Britain to our country. Then new pattern of demand. New pattern of demand meaning people had actually tasted they actually started preferring using more of machine made goods. So This is also changed our preference from handmade products to machine made products. So another reason for the decay of handicraft industries. And then last is disappearance of princely court. Okay, so how this is actually linked with the decline of handicraft product. So you know what, that time emperor and kings who were there, so these were the people who would actually visit frequently outside our country, and they would actually make our handicraft product famous, right? These were the people only. But and they had also liking for Indian handicraft product a lot. But with the time when Britishers started capturing more territory, more Indian territory, so gradually we started seeing disappearance of princely court as well. So when these emperor kings were no longer there, so the demand for handicraft product also, there wasn't many people who were actually encouraging and who were using our handicraft products. So this is how this entire decline of handicraft industries took place in our country. So now the next reason for the slow of handicraft product was slow progress of modern industry. As you can see in front of the screen, here are four reasons that are depicted. One of the reasons for the slow progress of modern industries in our country was lopsidedness of Indian industry. Another reason, lack of capital good industry. And third last is lower contribution to GDP. And the last is limited area of operation of public sector. So these are four reasons that we'll be discussing one by one in detail.